Hello and welcome to Asian American Life. I'm your host, Ernabel Demillo. Our team of reporters are virtually reporting safely from their homes on the East Coast. In this special edition, we're going to take a look at how the coronavirus pandemic is impacting Asian American communities nationwide. And I'll have a special in-depth report on the wave of hate crimes and racist attacks against Asian Americans. But first, here's a look at what's ahead. Fight for survival. Rayner Ramirez takes us to Maine, where one family business struggles to stay afloat. Crisis management. Kyung Yoon reports on nonprofits on the front line. And Minnie Roh looks at the unsung heroes who go above and beyond the call of duty. This and more on Asian American Life. As the coronavirus spread quickly across the country, so did the attacks against Asian Americans.
As reports of coronavirus have spread across the U.S., so have incidents of anti-Asian violence.
This is the moment passers-by say a woman wearing a face mask was attacked in a New York subway station.
You've seen the headlines and the videos that are going viral. The racial taunts and attacks against Asians started even before the first case of COVID-19 was first reported in the U.S.
I've never seen the mood in the Chinese American community so fearful or so concerned.
Wayne Ho is president and CEO of CPC NYC, the nation's largest Asian American social service organization.
We are hearing now that it's grown into violence on the streets. We know there's hate crimes going on, and it's just really sad that during this time we know that this is a public health issue. It's not a racial, ethnic, or immigrant issue.
While New York and the country grapple with the deadly virus, Asian Americans are also fearful for their lives. In Brooklyn, an Asian woman was taking out her garbage when someone threw acid on her, leaving her with second-degree burns. In Texas, a man stabbed an Asian family in a grocery store, including 2 young children. The rising xenophobia seemed to only get worse as some in higher office referred to it as the China flu.
After the actual COVID-19 virus started to spread, the other epidemic of xenophobia was fueled further by the racist fear-mongering of our president and the allies that he has that sought to shift blame after failing to do their job to keep our nation safe.
The president eventually pulled back from calling it the Chinese virus, but the damage was done. According to several hate-tracking websites, the number of attacks on Asian Americans rose to 100 per day. The Stop AAPI Hate website, launched back in March, received more than 1,000 reports in just 2 weeks, from denial of service, physical assaults, and verbal attacks. And these Asian American doctors working in the front line at hospitals posted this video with some of the hateful messages they have received. Journalist Jeff Yang told us about his racist encounter in Los Angeles.
This woman who had come out of the supermarket, she was an older white woman wearing a mask, walked past me and then just for no seeming reason just turned and shouted, "F you," to me. I looked up and I just saw that she had shouted at me. I wondered what I did. And then she sort of set her bag down, reached up to her mask, pulled it down quickly, and then coughed loudly in my direction.
Yang, who had warned about the rising racism back in January for CNN, says it may get worse for Asian Americans.
I am of real concern that, especially as the economy turns down, especially as losses, human and otherwise, mount up, the direction that the government is pointing in towards blaming not just China but Chinese is going to be a real threat, not just to Chinese Americans or Chinese expatriates here in the United States, but really to Asians more broadly and Asian Americans more broadly.
Yang points to the 1987 Vincent Chin case. Anti-Japanese and Asian sentiments hit a boiling point when 2 laid-off workers beat and killed Chin, mistaking him for Japanese, who they had blamed for the decline of the auto industry. There is a long history of racism against Asians in this country. In 1875, there was the Page Act barring Asian women from immigrating to the U.S. Later, the 1882 Exclusion Act prohibited all immigration of Chinese workers.
One of the things we see here is that through the very, origins of Chinese communities in the US, you have the idea of the Chinese as not biologically, physiologically, morally, and culturally healthy, that they are always in need of state surveillance and state violence to maintain the health of the U.S. society.
CCNY professor Stanley Thongaraj explained that throughout history, the idea of Americanness always needed a racial other. During World War II, soon after Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, the U.S. incarcerated Japanese Americans to internment camps. After 9/11, Muslim Americans, along with Pakistanis and Indians, were the target.
One of the major things we have to really think about is how is this attack on Asians and Asian America during the coronavirus actually symptomatic and also emblematic of a larger system of white supremacy that has needed our bodies and needed us as scapegoats for other types of social anxieties around the diminishing economy, the diminishing political power of the U.S., the lack of job production in the U.S., outsourcing.
Today, many Asian Americans are starting to fight back by calling out the racism, using the internet to organize.
Rise up and stand together against the xenophobia
directed at our Asian American communities in the wake of COVID-19.
Social media has been flooded with hashtags like Wash the Hate, I am not a virus, and racism is a virus.
This is something we can say, no, this is wrong. Calling it the Chinese virus or the Kung flu is absolutely not okay with us. And you can't go around slashing people's faces. You can't go around punching people in the streets. We won't stand for it.
And several nonprofits and companies are starting to collect data, urging AAPIs not to brush aside the hate, but to report it. I'm Ernabel Demillo for Asian American Life.
Small businesses anchor the U.S. economy. And while immigrants make up 13% of the U.S. population, they make up 18% of small business owners. And Asian Americans are most likely to own their own businesses. But in the age of COVID-19, small businesses may not be getting the help they need from the federal government. Across the country, small business owners are seeing red. New York City's Chinatown is virtually shut down. Even in less populated states in the Northeast, like Maine, small business owners are feeling the pangs of the lockdown. Sejong and G Park are the owners of Sun Market, an Asian grocery store that's called downtown Portland home for more than 32 years. Since the federal government declared a national emergency, Park says that business has gone down about 50%. But the work has doubled, and no word from their bank. The government's $349 billion Paycheck Protection Program to help small businesses during the pandemic ran out of money within 2 weeks of issuing checks.
Due to coronavirus, we have to shorten our times because we have to sanitize before we open up and sanitize after we close.
In addition to sanitizing the store a lot more, the Parks are also taking orders for curbside pickup.
Hello, Sun Market. Yes, we are open.
In a state where the Asian population hovers just over 1%, Sun Market's customer base is different than most Asian grocers in the U.S.
Before this coronavirus crisis, 90% of our customer base was English-speaking Caucasian customers.
This Asian market became the local community grocer in downtown Portland after Sejong's parents bought the business in 1992. Sejong says that his family ended up in Maine because Sejong's father, Wonbae Park, got a job as an engineer at a local shipbuilding company. His mother, Ipbun Park, gave up a career in nursing and took a job in a shoe factory. After a few years of working, his parents hit the glass ceiling.
They realized no matter what they did, they could not move up on the ladder. They were kept being kicked down to a certain level. They decided to give up the working life and decided to open up their own business.
Studies have shown that Asian American professionals are more likely to be hired, but less likely to be promoted into management roles than any other race. Sejong says that it was no different for his father, who quit his job as an engineer to be his own boss.
So they bought a used cargo van, and they would drive down to New York to pick up all the stuff that nobody else could get, and then bring them up and sell them here.
Sejong says that his parents started cultivating Sun Market's customer base back then.
They started inviting the town chefs and started to give them the samples of Asian cuisine so they would know how to use it. And a lot of chefs appreciated that.
But there were a few who didn't appreciate their store in the beginning.
When it was 4th of July, people will come in front of our store and tell us to sell American goods. And that if we can't sell American goods, then we should go home.
Rather than confrontation, Sejong says his parents used those incidents as teaching moments.
They would invite them in and give you a sample of something that you may like. And then they would try it and like it, then they start opening their minds. The biggest thing is they start opening their hearts.
The owners, the son and daughter, they're incredible help. And not only just the ingredients, but also sometimes on how to cook it, what's the best way to use different things. Portland's a real big foodie town, and this is an integral part of it.
But after the coronavirus pandemic, the racism they experienced in the past was spelled out once again.
We did receive some comments about us bringing the coronavirus over. We're from South Korea, so they don't call us South Koreans, you brought it over. They make a remark as in, you guys brought the China virus over. And they put marks, they graffiti on the store walls, outside building.
Sejong says he painted over the graffitied words, "Go home." Anti-Asian sentiment in the U.S. has increased during the global pandemic. The Asian Pacific Policy and Planning Council, which is tracking these incidents, has received more than 1,100 reports of coronavirus discrimination within a 2-week period.
People come in to our market and then they look at us and they turn around and go back out. I don't know what that's about, but if you don't feel safe here, there's nothing I can do for you. And we're trying to make an environment where everybody feels safe enough to walk around and grab the items that they need.
Everyone in the Park family, it seems, is pitching in to flatten the curve. Sejong's mother, a former nurse, started making masks for those who needed most.
And my daughter, she wanted to help. So she's cutting the garments, cutting the rubber earpieces. We all live in a community where we have to help one another to survive.
For Asian American Life, I'm Rayner Ramirez.
I'm Kyung Yoon. In this time of uncertainty, there is something that we do know, that those who were most vulnerable before COVID-19, older adults, low-wage workers, the uninsured, the undocumented, these are people who are the hardest hit by the pandemic. And nonprofit organizations that are often the lifelines for people in times of crisis are themselves feeling stretched thin and vulnerable.
It was only a couple months ago that I visited the Korean Community Services Senior Center in Flushing, Queens, to meet up with its dance team, a vibrant group of women in their 60s, 70s, and 80s who practice every week for fun and exercise. On a typical day, about 350 seniors would come to the center for the hot meals, as well as the activities like dance, art, choir, computer, and English classes. But that was all before the COVID-19 pandemic shuttered the senior center several weeks ago.
We've totally stopped all of our, congregate activities, classes, and we've shifted more to assurance calls, right? So all of our staff are making sure that they're calling the seniors daily that they are doing okay, seeing what their needs are and how we can provide assistance virtually. We've also been shifting much more of our services to our homebound meals and also talking to the city to see, okay, since obviously seniors cannot come to the center for meals, for those especially that are most at need, would we be able to provide delivery services for those seniors as well? People really not, they're really depressed and anxious because of the isolation, because they don't know what's going to happen.
Joanne Yu, the executive director of the Asian American Federation, agrees that coronavirus-induced anxiety is taking a health toll on the community.
All of the challenges that we've had, I think it's just been exacerbated by a gazillionfold since we are all at home. We are in isolation. It's hard not to, even as an introvert, it's really hard not to see people every day. I think the biggest barrier to getting mental health services for our community is the stigma of mental health itself. Our community sees mental health as a secret shame instead of a medical problem that can be overcome with counseling, with medication and awareness.
Being on the front lines, being out there in the community, knowing seniors that are dying and that are hospitalized and sick, and seeing that day to day, it can get very, very stressful. A lot of our staff have families that own small businesses and their businesses are no longer in existence. And so how do we help staff and support them as well? So those are all things that we're facing right now.
The federal government's $2 trillion COVID stimulus package was designed to help individuals and businesses. But Asian community nonprofits say language barriers are preventing struggling immigrants from getting access to these benefits.
We quickly had one of our board members, who is actually an SBA lender, say, hey, do you mind training our staff? And then maybe even potentially doing some webinars for the community, because I think a lot of them know that these grants and loans are out there, but they're not sure how to apply. If they're cash businesses, how do you pull the necessary documentation from their tax returns? So it's not just the application itself, but I think there's a lot of assistance that's needed in just preparing the documents that they need to apply as well. So we're really trying to see if we can sort of meet that need and the demand, because that's a lot of the calls that we're getting lately.
The Asian American community has been dealing with the economic impact since January. Small businesses or restaurants were closing. By February, Asian American small businesses were telling us that they were suffering from 50 to 90% loss. So we're organizing them. We are sending letters to our elected officials to fight for some tax breaks.
I think we have to assume that nothing at this point is guaranteed. And our priority right now is to just survive as an organization so that we can continue to provide services tomorrow and after this whole thing is over, right? And how are we going to help rebuild the community?
Nonprofit organizations on the front lines of advocating for Asian American communities and providing essential services have always played a critical role in helping the most vulnerable weather the storm and get back on their feet. But with this pandemic, it's far from clear if the nonprofits themselves will be able to survive. I'm Kyung Yoon for Asian American Life.
I'm Minnie Roh. If we were to find a silver lining to COVID-19, it would no doubt be the heartwarming stories of human compassion that we see pouring out of every corner of the country. When this pandemic struck, many Asian American small businesses also sprung into action, tapping into their resources to help those with greater need, giving back to the communities that had always supported them.
Just like he has done every day for the past 12 years, Salvatore Rayner is making the pizza that will feed his customers at Francesca Brick Oven Pizza and Pasta, a restaurant he owns along with his brother Gino in the small town of Glen Rock, New Jersey.
When I'm paying bills at home, I literally, sounds a little corny, but I literally say to myself, like, thank you to Glen Rock and the surrounding town and all those who come into the shop, because I wouldn't be able to pay my bills if they weren't coming.
But overnight, his customers stopped coming. COVID-19 forced many small businesses to shutter their doors. Even in a pandemic, people need to eat, so Rayner is one of the lucky ones. His customers continue to take out pizza and buy his DIY pizza kits to make it home. But many stores in this small New Jersey town and across America were not as fortunate.
So I feel like it's my duty, in a way, for better words, to help support the community and kind of step up, even though I'm going through my own personal and business difficulties.
Rayner, who is half Chinese and half Italian, says he was also disturbed and horrified by the racism against Asians that he had been seeing in the news since the outbreak of COVID-19. He says he wasn't sure how, but he wanted to give people hope that there was still some good to be found during these dark, uncertain times. Then, one night while surfing Facebook, a light bulb went off in his head.
I was just on my social media feed between Facebook and Instagram, just constantly seeing people posting about needing gloves, masks, gowns. I said to myself, how could I help? Because I don't have access to medical supplies. And then for some reason I was thinking about, hey, we use the gloves in the back in the kitchen.
It took one phone call to his distributor, Ferrara Foods, to find out that they were willing to help. Then Rayner, along with one of his customers, created a fundraiser, clicked post on Facebook, and what happened next was nothing short of inspirational.
In the first 5 minutes, my phone kept on dinging. It was like a cha-ching sound. Like within 5 minutes, there was like $250. I come back to it exactly at like 7:40, about 55 minutes later, and there was about $3,000 in the account.
And Rayner was flooded with texts and messages with words of encouragement.
Good job, Sal. Like, keep it going. Like, I hope that money helps, get them their gloves. And that just made it really exciting.
At 10 p.m., just 3 hours after the post went live, Rayner had raised close to $7,000.
It was 116 cases. It was like, there's 116,000 gloves in those cases. That's what my customer said. She's like, Sal, that might save a life. And I said, it might. And if it does, it was worth it. And knowing that, they got some protection with those gloves on during this amazingly difficult time, that is the best thing.
Rayner is just one of the many Asian business owners across the country using their resources to battle the COVID crisis. In Washington State, a Filipino restaurant called Musang Seattle turned their kitchen into a community food center for senior centers, nonprofits, and hospitals. Vietnamese nail salon workers in Salt Lake City, Utah, are sewing face masks and donating gloves, hand sanitizer, and disinfectant wipes and sprays for first responders and healthcare workers. In the hard-hit New York City area, one Chinatown activist is putting his own twist on Meals on Wheels by facilitating shuttered Chinatown restaurants to cook meals for homebound residents. Across the Hudson River in Fort Lee, New Jersey, Japanese and Korean restaurants are donating lunchboxes, soup, and masks for low-income senior citizens and first responders. And in Brooklyn, New York, this GoFundMe campaign pays for groceries and essential items for vulnerable families.
Seeing the human spirit play out in the people in this community during this difficult time has been the most amazing.
48 hours after Rayner's fundraiser went live, over 100 cases of gloves were delivered to Francesca's. By the end of that day, volunteers had distributed them to 4 hospitals in and around Bergen County, New Jersey. At Holy Name Hospital in Teaneck, New Jersey, one of the hot spots early on in the crisis, Rayner personally delivered a little extra morale booster for a former Francesca's employee, now an emergency room nurse, and her coworkers working on the front line of the pandemic.
Thank you. We all appreciate it.
Seeing people come together during difficult times has been a real pleasure and actually an honor to be a very small part of that fundraiser. I just want to thank everybody. I wanted to thank everybody for their love, for their appreciation of what we tried to do here.
Because of the overwhelming response to the first fundraiser, Rayner held a second one just 2 weeks later. And again, the community responded, raising $6,600 in less than 3 hours, bringing the total number of donated gloves to 250,000 pairs. I'm Minnie Roh for Asian American Life.
If you want more information on these stories, be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Asian American Life. As we close our show, we want to express our thanks and gratitude to all the essential and frontline workers. I'm Ernabel Demillo. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Please stay safe and healthy.